Hey everybody! I wanted to share with you some good news, some propaganda, and some outright lies from our government and the corporate media that mostly serves as a mouthpiece for the corrupt government. Um, so today you might have heard that the International Court of Justice came back with its ruling that it's plausible that genocide is occurring against the Palestinians. And while that doesn't mean that it is occurring, that means that there's enough that South Africa put forward in its case to make it plausible. And since it's plausible, that means, the death of an entire society could be taking place currently. So they've asked anybody, all the nations that are party to the Convention Against Genocide to take action to prevent it, including, most importantly, Israel, but also, the United States by proxy. So there's a lot of games being played. One of them is the fact that this news drops at the same time that they chose today to mention that this UN agency that aids Palestinians said it was investigating charges that some of its workers were involved in the October 7th attack on Israel, which sounds like, State Department BS. There's been a lot of that kind of thing coming out. And it's the New York Times, so what do you expect? Like, they can't let this kind of majorly bad news for the U.S. Colonial system project, imperial thing, to drop without caveats, several caveats, right? Including like, hey, we're not that bad. Look what the UN themselves are doing. And it's just kind of sad. Now it says, court orders Israel to prevent genocide, but does not demand stop to the war. Oh, no. Don't stop the war, you guys. Although you'll see why this is dishonest. And by the way, it says it has no means of enforcement. A lot of people have said that. It doesn't matter. It's just the UN. It's just the opinion with the global South. It's just our standing with the, decent, polite society of the global system that we allegedly, propound. And, we're always talking about the global rules-based order. We used to say global law or international law. Now we say international rules-based order because we've broken them so many times. So we can't go around talking about the law anymore. That it's like somebody that robs cars going around and talking about the law. So, and this also contains information about how there's a bunch of people that are being evacuated from sites in the South where everybody's been told to go. Basically, it's like whack-a-mole with Palestinians being the mole, and it's just really sad. Imagine that, though. Like, maybe that's not the best metaphor that really makes light of it, but it's there's no place to hide, there's no place to go, and the situation is getting more and more desperate. Kids being amputated without anesthesia and stuff like that after surviving another thing, and they're just losing more limbs and parents and siblings and family members. So it's yucky, and so they've stopped just short of stopping the ceasefire or declaring a ceasefire. Now, yeah, so they've basically accepted all of the premise. Now, here's Snopes, which is saying it's calling false on the claim that the ICJ said that there is a genocide being committed. Which is like bearing the lead again, okay? Yes, that's not what they determined. They said that it's plausible. The later determination comes later. They need to actually go through the process. This was a quickie to say, okay, yeah, this might be happening. Therefore, stop whatever you're doing before we can decide if it's, guilty, right? The guilt comes after stopping the crime. Somebody's being murdered in the street. The first thing you do is stop it. You get an injunction. And then you might decide in a court of law, later on whether it was attempted murder or not, right? So they're saying false, like they're not made a final ruling. Okay, that doesn't look good for those that are saying that this is positive development, but not so fast. Going through here, we look at what is in the order, and it says, it basically says here, in particular, killing members of the group needs to stop. State of Israel shall, in accordance with its obligations under the Convention of the Prevention of the Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in relation to the Palestinians in Gaza, take all measures within its power to prevent the commission of all acts within the scope of the Article 2 of the Convention, in particular, killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to the members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, and imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. Okay, so that covers no more bombing hospitals, no more bombing moms, no more bombing neighborhoods, no more bombing people, period. You have to stop killing people. Like, so they're like, oh, no ceasefire. Oh, no ceasefire. But that, yes, you have to cease fire. You can't go ahead and try to kill people. Like, if you're at the point where you're killing people, and it's just bombing. We're not trying to bomb to kill people. We're just bombing. And okay, I guess if you were saying that you were going to bomb random places that have no people there, you prove that there's no people there, prove that there's nobody being harmed, and then you'd have to prove that you're not creating conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction. So why are you bombing infrastructure, randomly bombing anything, unless that's the aim? So, even if bombing to create a buffer zone, which the U.S. has said that they're really not okay with, and they're actually were doing a couple of days ago. They are doing, and that's not cool. So basically, then here's the New York Times saying, "Yeah, no ceasefire. They don't have to stop." But here's Snopes saying they have to stop. This is the actual ruling. So do you see what the American media does? Kind of talks out of both sides of its ass, and doesn't really give you the whole story. And a lot of this is conveniently left out of the paper of record, which is not surprising. Let's just read the rest of these. 15 votes to 2. You wonder what those votes, those 2 votes are. These 2 votes are probably Israel and U.S. And then this is probably the one is Israel. Okay, so. Like, yes, that seems silly, but those 2 of those judges on the court are U.S. and Israel. So by 15 votes to 2, the state of Israel shall ensure with immediate effect that its military does not commit any acts described in point 1. Okay. That seems redundant, but moving on. 16 to 1, the state of Israel shall take all measures within its power to prevent and punish the direct and public incitement to commit genocide in relation to members of the Palestinian group in the Gaza Strip. That would be, comments like Amalek, comments from Netanyahu, or we're going to turn it into a parking lot, or let's nuke it, or all sorts of things that have been coming out. They're like, hey, guy, that we were just saying stuff. Hey, people say stuff. It's really terrible stuff, and then immediately afterward, the soldiers go and do it, and then they're chanting about it, and dancing about it, and stuff like that while they're doing it. And, that was a lot of the South African pitches. Their pitch had that, like preempting Israel, saying, "Hey, they just said stuff; it doesn't mean anything." Preempting that, they went ahead and showed, footage of the dancing soldiers repeating the words of Netanyahu about, wiping the seed of Amalek off the face of the earth and stuff. And it's pretty obvious. So, Yep. This take immediate and effective measures to ensure the provision of urgently needed basic services and humanitarian assistance to address the adverse conditions of life faced by Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. That means, like, for starters, stop the stoppages of shipments of stuff that's already trying to get in. For starters, and then increase the rate of that, So all of this actually makes the Houthis look like they're ahead of the game. They're taking action. Might not agree with that action, but they're trying to stop shipments. The next phases is the global South and a lot of our call them adversaries or competitors around the world are going to start looking sideways at the U.S. and maybe not buying those treasury bills and stuff like that. Could affect the dollar, could affect global shipping, could affect a credit rating. South Africa, when it went through apartheid, they took a lot of shit. And it's not a little deal to be found guilty of these things in the international court. It's like you become a pariah of sorts until the stuff stops and people remember. And already, the global opinion of the U.S. as a curator of the financial system and all of this stuff was hanging by a thread as it was. We took Afghanistan's money, we took Russia's money, saying those were bad guys, but you're the banker. You can't be the banker and the police at the same time and then just police the bank like that. Just cut people off because you don't like what they do. And sanctions are one of the worst things that we've done over the years. Like, people think the bombing is the worst thing, but actually sanctions kill millions more people around the world and have over the last few decades. So we're not well thought of as well as we like to think. And, it's just that we live in the center of the empire in the luxurious, the lap of luxury of the dollar hegemony bubble. And, very unaware. Most people are very unaware in this country of how thoroughly they've been indoctrinated. So I'll realize that that's actually. So you can see the full order, and this by no means says specifically ceasefire. I'm not even sure if that was actually. They make it sound like, oh, South Africa denied. I'm not even sure if ceasefire was specifically listed. I think it's all these other things. These are actual, they're basically saying everything that was put forward by South Africa we find to be valid. Not that the thing is taking place, but that it's plausible that the thing is taking place, and hereby order that, Israel, as well as, the various states involved in the convention, take immediate action, whatever they can do to stop this thing from happening. And that's a pretty significant difference from what was being put forward over here. And anyway, I wanted to talk about that, and thanks for listening, and have a good night. If you like the vibe, like and subscribe. Take it easy. Bye.